This week on Sundays with Sally, we do a full Seakeeper ride install on a Southport 30, and now we're out here freezing our tuckuses off trying to get it all calibrated and dialed in. Check it out. What's going on, everybody? It is Shelly, and we are in the shop. We've got a brand new Southport 30, as you can see behind me here, and this boat is getting the brand new Seakeeper ride system. So this is going to be the first Southport getting the ride system, and we're installing that here in the shop. I've got Corey here. He's going to town, getting everything on box as we start to look to see what it is we're going to need to do on this install. And I figured I'd give you guys a more in-depth view of what it takes to install a Seakeeper ride system on your boat. One of the first things we need to be aware of when we're doing this is, what does the transom look like? We need a flat transom. We don't need pockets. So in this particular build, there's no pockets, so we've got that box checked off. However, we do have underwater lights in place. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to have to start off this whole process by just removing the underwater lights. And then we can get into doing the prep and getting everything else rolling for that. So let's go check it out, guys. All right, so after a little bit of cursing and cussing and making sure we got the right tools, we went ahead and the underwater lights have been removed from the boat. Now, when you do this, you're gonna expect a little bit of damage, and that was the case here. We have a very small, minor cosmetic damage on the gel coat there. We'll go ahead and we'll get that touched up and repaired. So once the lights are off, then we need to measure the transom angle on this boat. In this case, that is 103 degrees. Corey got ahead and got that jotted down. Now, why do we need to know the transom angle, guys? This is not just a simple bolt on, slap it on in your backyard kit. There's a lot going on here, as you can kind of see in the box. Some of the parts here as everything's starting to come together. Corey's even got his iPad out there with the instructions. You can see he's starting to fit things up right there, lining everything up. So we have to measure that transom angle so that we can make sure we put the right wedge in place behind that so we get the angle correct when we are installing this. So now we've gone ahead, we've marked off on there with that blue tape where the unit is actually going to mount, and that has to be running parallel to the bottom of your boat. So we go ahead, we put a square up under there, and we check that out to make sure that that's running parallel. Now, after we get that all marked out and all that's done, now comes the messy part, guys. Now, Corey's going to go ahead, get suited up, and he is going to grind the gel coat back for the area that we have marked off right there. So we're going to have to grind all that out. We're going to get rid of all the gel coat back to good fiberglass so that we can have a good chemical bond, adhesive bond for this, so that these units are part of the boat, because there's going to be a lot of pressure on these when the boat's moving at speed, and these things are moving up and down really quick. So we want to make sure we've got a really good bond for it. So we're going ahead, Corey's getting everything kind of spaced up and specced out right now, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to start that messy process of the grinding and getting this thing ready for the next step. So let's check it out, guys. All right, so now we've gone ahead, we had to tent the boat off because we are in the shed. We got a bunch of other new boats around us here. We want to keep everything dust-free and clean as possible. So Corey's going ahead and he is pulling the plastic here, revealing the grinding job that he has done here. And we want to make sure, like we mentioned, guys, that you get back to good glass on all of this here. So like I said, we've already marked this all off, and this whole area has now been ground back. We've got good glass on there. We know we're going to get good adhesion now because we've removed all of the gel coats and fillers and anything else that are in there from the build process. So as he goes ahead and gets the other side done and unmasked as well, we're going to go ahead and make our steps, get things mocked up, make off the marking spots for things we have to cut. We're also going to double check our angle. Now that we've ground everything, that angle for the transom might have changed a little bit. We want to make sure we are getting the correct wedge on there. So I'm going to go ahead, finish cleaning this thing up, and show you guys the next step. All right, so as you can see, Corey is starting to get everything ready for the dry fit here. Now he's working away on that side. We've already gone ahead on this side and got the dry fit already done here. As you can see, getting everything lined up on there, making sure we are all looking good and nice there. So as he's going ahead and getting that done, we've also gone ahead, as you can kind of take a look over here, you can see those two black circles right there. That's where we're hoping to go ahead and run our cables through. As Corey gets this stuff all kind of hung there with the screws, you can see that allows for an easy alignment for us so we can make sure that everything's looking good there. Now, mentioning those holes, we're hoping with the way that these are falling on the transom, they're going to avoid any stringers on the inside, so we can actually go ahead and run our cables through the hull behind the actual unit itself instead of having to extend it up and then go into the hull that way, giving us one less penetration point for the cable to go through the hull and another potential, leak or anything else right there. We're keeping this all as local as we can. So he's going to go ahead, keep digging away on this. We're going to go check these out on the inside, make sure those clear, and we'll show you guys the next step here in a second. All right, guys, so like we mentioned, we're talking about running the wires through the hull, and we're going to do that behind the trib tab instead of sending it up and into the hull at a higher point. Part of that means Corey has to go down in here into the bowels of the back corners of the boat and try and reach everything so that he can make sure that when we drill our pilot holes through, that we are in a good spot that we can actually pull the wire through and not coming in on a stringer or a tank or some wiring or a harness or anything like that. So there's just considerations we have to have when we are doing this. So just one more step. All right, so once we made sure we had good clearance on the inside, then we come to the outside, we use the bracket, and we go ahead and we line it up in here, and we make sure we get a good pilot hole, as you can see right there, as Corey goes ahead and he starts in on the other side there, getting that pilot hole. Now, earlier in this video, we talked about the wedges and transom angles and stuff. Well, here's where you can start to see this comes into play, guys. If you take a look on this tab here, hopefully it kind of shows up on camera for you, you can see there's actual multiple angles in here on this. So if we look right here, we've got our base plate, and then we've got our wedges here as well. So hopefully that kind of shows up for you. Those are the wedges we're talking about to make sure we get the proper angle for this system on the install. So now we're going to go ahead and take these off of there, go ahead, drill the hole out bigger, put the cable gland through there from the inside out, break the end off of that, get that part taken care of, and then we can move forward with this again. All right, guys, as you can see, Corey is going to town, and we've got a little tool that makes this job just that much easier, and that is the pneumatic caulk gun on here to make this plexus install go that much easier. You can see the hull side is done and the plate side is done, and we're going to go ahead and he's going to get that all lined up on there with those set screws, making sure everything is looking really nice, recheck all of our angles. You can start to see actually how we're actually getting the smooth out of there as we're getting it pushed out of there. That way we know we have a really good bond in there and everything is taken care of. So that side is getting wrapped up. This side, as you can see right here, is already done. We've gone ahead, we've got it cleaned up right here. Our tape's removed. We've gone ahead, we've cleaned up the excess plexus now while it's still easy to do before that all cures. Obviously, like we mentioned, we still have some gel coat work to take care of from the light we removed, but that's all part of the process here. So that's just another step along the way as we continue to move forward. We're gonna let this stuff set up overnight. We're gonna come back tomorrow. We're gonna start pulling wires through. We're gonna get the outside here going and get all the rest of this stuff rolling along. So here we go, guys.
The next day.
All right, so now that the plexus has all cured on here and everything is all bedded down nice, you can see Corey's come in here and he's laid a nice black bead of caulk around there to make sure everything is sealed up really nice on there. As you can see, we've got a cable coming down, and that is run through our previously mentioned cable gland right here that we installed. So we've got our cable gland right there. That's coming down into the actual motor right here, and this is a a big beefy motor right there. That's the actual actuator that's going to work for these buckets right here. These are the actual pieces that get mounted on the back that are doing the work of going up and down really fast. So these are really herky, really beefy, nice injection molded pieces right here. As you guys can see the size of them with my hand in there for scale, they're really a nice good size unit right there for us, and that's going to get all bolted together and assembled. And then Corey's got to run all the wires up front to the helm. So once he gets all the wires run up to the helm right there, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get this hooked into our distribution module right here. As you can see, we've got plugs for both of the tabs and then power going right there. And then we also have our software module right here, kind of the brains of the unit, if you will, that also gets hooked up. So we'll get all that wired up. And then that's all going to get routed into the Garmin for the One Helm app, so we'll be able to have control of everything there as well on the MFDs. So it'll make it a really nice, clean fit and finish and good user experience as well. So we're gonna let Corey get back to it, get all the wires pulled, get everything installed. Once everything's hooked up, once that's all buttoned up, once all that's done, we'll show you the end result of what all that looks like. All right, so now Corey's gone ahead. He's got all of the wiring run through the boat. We've started back down there in the build with those cable glands we talked about, pulling the wiring through. Then we went to those modules that we showed you guys earlier, and now Corey's going through the process. He's got his iPad here, and we are doing our calibration process on the MFD to make sure that everything is set up properly. All right, so now that all of the calibration configuring has been done, all the wiring has been neatened up and bundled up in there, now we can actually come back here and we can see these things at work. Now, obviously, it's much slower right now when they're working, but you get the idea of what is actually moving on here. As Corey's up there moving them up and down, we can start to see the motion of these things working. You can also see we've gone ahead, we've got our underwater lights reinstalled as well. So now we just need to do some quick housekeeping, getting things all buttoned up on board here. Then we're gonna throw it on a trailer. And then it's really cold up here in Maine in December, but we're gonna go hit the water with this thing next and show you guys how this whole system works and what it handles like on board this Southport 30, guys. So let's go check it out. All right, guys, so it is a balmy Monday morning in December. It's about 32 degrees outside, and we are going to go ahead and get this Southport in the water with the new Seakeeper ride system. Let's go check it out, guys. All right, guys, so we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna peel away from the dock right here, and we are gonna make sure we get everything dialed in on this Seakeeper ride system. We got Corey with us here, he did the whole install, and let's go ahead and let's see what's good with this. Unfortunately, guys, this is not the roughest day out here, so we're not going to get a full-on good action shot of what's happening here as far as it handles the waves. But for performance-wise, we're going to go ahead, we're going to do another pull here without the Seakeeper ride on auto, and let's see what we get for that. Start to do some nice gradual S-turns here. You can start to see how much lean we're getting in here. Hopefully it's conveying across in the video for you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and engage the ride. You can see it kind of flattens us right out on these turns right here. All right, guys, that is a wrap on the Seakeeper ride system and install. Thank you guys for tuning in and checking it out. I know that was a long video, but hopefully you found it very insightful to see what all is involved in bringing a Seakeeper ride system to your boat. If you want to know more about it, leave it down below in the comments or reach out to us, sales@navtronics.com. We'd love to talk to you about it. I wish it was a little rougher out here, honestly, guys, so I could show you guys a little bit more of what this system can do in the chop and the waves and keeping this boat more steady and more dialed in. But yeah, we got to work with what we got to work with, which is cold weather and cold air and cold water. So till next time, guys, make sure to give us a like, follow, subscribe, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook @Navtronics. Corey and I are going to go find something warm to drink and try and warm our hands and feet back up and get this boat tied up and get it down to Florida. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.